All right, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Cohen here with you. You know what time it is. It's time to talk about the Jets schedule. Folks, the Jets schedule is out, and look, I know it's before 8 o'clock p.m., but look, this is what the world is like here in this era of Twitter and the internet. It is amazing how fans find ways, and not just fans, reporters. The NFL loves this because they love when the schedule gets leaked out or trickled out, and people find ways to, through their sources, to get the best, most accurate information out there and share it with you on a day like this. And I got to give a lot of credit, obviously, and I think all Jet fans are giving a lot of credit today to Matt O'Leary of the Just Jets podcast, which is also here on YouTube, because he put out the schedule last night. Late last night, he put out the entire schedule, said he had sources who he trusts, and it turns out as the day went on, he was almost 1,000% right. Almost 1,000% right. The only issue was that you could flip the Dolphin games from. He had the Jets ending the season at Miami. Instead, it was they're playing Miami at home. But other than that, that's just nitpicking. He got it 1,000, practically 99.9% correct. It was an outstanding job by him to get that information, to share that information, and revealing what this Jets schedule is going like. And boy, oh boy, it's good. We'll talk about how the Jets can do this year, what the expectation should be this year. But when you look at this schedule, it is packed. It is packed right now, especially in the first half of the year, with featured games, primetime games. You have the game in London. The Jets are going to be a feature piece for the NFL all season long. Again, second straight year now we've seen this with the NFL. Obviously, the attraction of having Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback of this team, notwithstanding, is the big selling point for for the National Football League. But also, this is a team that loaded up again in free agency this year, going out there improving the offensive line the way they did, getting Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, adding Hassan Reddick in a trade with the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the best pass rushers in the National Football League over the last several years. The Jets have him now. So the Jets are this, as you would say, a sexy pick right now, a trendy team that people want to see, that people think could be a playoff team here in 2024. And we'll see how that plays out. So it's really no surprise that the Jets end up with a number of big-time primetime games. I believe 6 primetime games, 7 featured games overall if you include that game in London. So let's go right through this. Let me pull up the schedule right here. Starting off the season, week 1 at San Francisco, actually at Santa Clara, against the 49ers. Monday Night Football, this game is going to have all kinds of sizzle, all kinds of headline potential. You have Robert Saleh making his return to the Bay Area against the team that he was a big part of just a few years ago. He was the defensive coordinator of that San Francisco team, and there's a big reason why he has his job here in New York is because of his work in San Fran. Jeff Ulbrich, of course, the Jets defensive coordinator, played for the 49ers for about a decade, and there was those rumblings, rumors early in the offseason that the 49ers were kicking the tires on potentially trying to poach Ulbrich from the Jets coaching staff. Of course, that did not happen, as Ulbrich stayed with the Jets. But you have that storyline. Then, Aaron Rodgers, of course, is a native of the Bay Area, and as we all know, a guy who's always had a bit of a little bit of a grudge, if you will, against the San Francisco 49ers because they did not draft him back in 2005. He slipped all the way to the 25th pick in the first round, taken by Green Bay. The rest is history. An interesting stat for Rodgers is that even though he's under 500 in his career against San Francisco, 6-7 in the regular season, 0-4 in the playoffs, in the regular season, 20 touchdowns to 2 picks against San Francisco in his career. It's a fascinating matchup. Why? Because you have two teams that in many ways are similar. They play really stout defense, and they like to run the football. The difference being, of course, the quarterbacks. You got Rodgers, the Hall of Famer. You got Purdy, who's trying to slowly make his way into becoming a top quarterback in this league. So that's going to be fascinating. And it's going to be, if the Jets are going to win that game, it's going to be very difficult against a team that good like San Francisco. They got to find a way to slow down Christian McCaffrey. Good luck with that. They also got to find a way to bottle up and contain George Kittle. Again, good luck with that. The matchup to watch will be Nick Bosa, defensive lineman for the 49ers, going up against that Jet offensive line. How new and improved it is, we'll find out right away in Week 1. What a test for the Jets right away. Week 2, the Jets go to Nashville to take on the Tennessee Titans. Then Week 3, they host the Patriots. Home opener is on a Thursday night. Hey, look, one thing that you notice in this schedule is the Jets have 4 primetime games at home. And again, the selling point being this Jets team as they're currently constituted, but also the Jets put on a show in primetime last year twice against Buffalo and Kansas City. Not just from the standpoint of how good those games were, but just the acoustics, the feel, the vibe in the building was incredible last year. Having Thunderstruck play when the Jets come out of the tunnel and you have the light, you have the fireworks and the smoke and everything else and the glowing green lights all over the place. It was an incredible atmosphere, and a lot of people in the NFL says, hey, that's pretty good. We want to get more of that. So that's where the Jets have 4 primetime games at home, one of them against New England in Week 3. Denver coming into town Week 4. Is that the Zach Wilson revenge game? Zach Wilson probably would be the backup quarterback by that point in time, as Bo Nix most likely will probably be the starter by that point. Probably will be the starter right out of training camp, you would have to imagine, for Denver Broncos. Then they go to London as the Jets will make their 3rd ever appearance in the UK. They'll take on the Minnesota Vikings, who also have another former Jet quarterback, Sam Darnold. You may have heard of him. Is that a possible revenge game, or are we going to see J.J. McCarthy under center for Minnesota? That is going to be a fascinating matchup for Gang Green. It's a historic matchup, obviously, going overseas to play in the UK. As I said, only the 3rd time the Jets have done it. They and the Vikings, as well as a number of other teams like the Jaguars and the 49ers, have partnerships with the UK, so you're going to see the Jets make probably multiple trips to the UK over the next several years, maybe even sacrifice a home game one day down the road to go out there. So the Vikings are the home team, designated home team in this one against the Jets in Week 5. No bye week. Week 6 is going to be a Sunday nighter against the Buffalo Bills. Another big home game, Monday nighter rather, against the Buffalo Bills. A rematch of that big Monday night game those two teams played last year. We'll now see it again in Week 6. And then right after that, at Week 7, against Pittsburgh on a Sunday night. That stretch against Minnesota in London, and then Buffalo, and then at Pittsburgh, back-to-back primetime games, is going to be fascinating. That could be a very brutal stretch for the Jets right there. We'll get more into that in just a minute. Week 8 at New England, then Houston on a Thursday night. Week 9 at Arizona. Indianapolis, kind of an oddball Sunday night game before the bye week. And then you end the season with Seattle. 2 games in Florida, at Miami, and then at Jacksonville. Then the Rams come into town. Then it ends up with the Bills and the Dolphins, of course, to end the season. So, what are my thoughts on that schedule for Gang Green? My thought is this. Considering the circumstances of a number of teams on that schedule, like Denver, Minnesota, New England, Arizona, Indianapolis in a way as well. And if you want to throw in Seattle in there, if you're not too certain whether Geno Smith is the guy or not moving forward, after kind of a topsy-turvy year last year, after a great year the year before. There's no reason why the Jets cannot get to, if they stay healthy, if things work out, 10 to 11 wins. That's the journey the Jets are on right now. Can they get to either 10 or 11 wins out of that schedule? To a lot of people, there's no reason why they cannot get to such a mark, especially considering some of the teams that are struggling right now at this point on paper that they see early in the year. As I mentioned, Tennessee, New England, Denver, Minnesota, all kind of in transitions right now. So, are there pitfalls? Is it an easy schedule? Absolutely not. Opening with San Francisco is brutal, a brutal start to the year. And as I said, that stretch, Week 5 through Week 7, is very tricky. The London game, and then coming back with 2 primetime games against 2 very good teams in the Bills, and yes, even the Steelers. I know that you want to scuff at Russell Wilson all you want. Hey, look, I think that's a good spot for him in Pittsburgh. That's not going to be an easy game. It will not be for the New York Jets. Then you have Houston on a Thursday night a couple weeks later in Week 9. That's that's going to be a tough stretch for New York. That's going to be a telling stretch of what this season is going to be for the New York Jets going forward. It really will be. And then when you take a look at the back end of the schedule, having the focus on Miami with 2 games late in the year and then the game in Buffalo in the cold weather, that will also be telling. You also, if you're the Jets, the 2 games in Florida, at Jacksonville. Jaguars were a major disappointment last year. What are they going to be this year? They are a Jekyll and Hyde team. I think you could say the same thing about even the Rams, even though a lot of people think they're going to be better this year after last year, even though they were a playoff team. That's always a tricky game as well. So not an easy schedule for Gang Green. I know that some people think it's very manageable, but the challenge is how can this team find its way to 10 to 11 wins? They have the talent. They have the depth. Now can they stay healthy this time? That's the key for the Jets. Can they stay healthy this time? Can Nathaniel Hackett not get out of his own way and let Aaron Rodgers do his thing? And, of course, can Aaron Rodgers play the entire season at the age of 40? That's going to be the big question for the Jets going forward into this season. So looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun schedule. It's an interesting schedule to look at. It's going to be fun to see how this all comes together. Before we go, keep in mind also the Giants' schedule came out. And, look, Big Blue does not have very high expectations here in 2024. Not at all. Obviously, with the situation with Daniel Jones, what's going to be with him? Is he the quarterback that they signed 2 years ago after that playoff appearance? Or is he the guy that got injured and just had a turnover fest that we saw last year? Giants opening up with the Minnesota Vikings. Then they go to the Washington Commanders in Week 2, and then at the Browns Week 3. Interesting that the Giants are going to get 5 featured games this year, even though they're a questionable team this season. 3 of them in primetime. Thursday night, Week 4 against the Cowboys at MetLife Stadium. Sunday night against the Bengals in Week 6. And at the Steelers, Week 8 will be a Monday night game. So they get all those primetime games very early in the year. Obviously, so everyone can see how good or bad this team is going to be. But they also have the game in Germany against the Carolina Panthers. And Thanksgiving Day, the second game, the middle game against the Dallas Cowboys. Second time in 3 years the Giants go to Dallas on Thanksgiving. It's funny because for like 25, 30 years, the Giants never went to Dallas on Thanksgiving in a row. And now, twice in the last 3 years, we've seen the Giants go to Dallas on Thanksgiving. That would not be fun for Big Blue at all, I can tell you right now. And then, of course, end of the season with the Ravens, and you got the Colts in there, and then you got the Eagles at the end of the season. It could be a rough year for the Big Blue. We'll see how things pan out for the Giants here in 2024. The one thing I do notice about last thing I will say about the international slate is that the NFL very cautiously made sure they had a slate this year for the international games where they were going to get the most eyeballs. Obviously, you take the 2 teams in New York City, the Jets going to England, the Giants going to Germany. You have, of course, the Philadelphia market as well, with the Eagles going to Brazil. You have Chicago involved with the Bears playing over there against the Jaguars, and also Boston, that market as well, with the Patriots going over there at the end of the London series to take on the Jaguars as well. So New York, Philly, Boston, Chicago, 4 very big TV media markets all involved in these overseas games. That's no incident. That's no coincidence either. The NFL knows, hey, look, we want eyeballs. We got streaming up the wazoo with Netflix now getting involved with the Christmas games, with Amazon. Don't be shocked if, of course, with YouTube TV, and then, of course, the traditional outlets of CBS, Fox, NBC, ABC, ESPN, you name it. We want to have the big media markets in these kind of games, especially internationally, as the NFL tries to continue to broaden its reach. So, fascinating schedule. Really is a fascinating schedule that's coming out here for the 2024 season. So, folks, leave your thoughts below. How do you see this thing panning out? What's your early prediction? Of course, as we're sitting here in the month of May, a little bit early to make predictions, but give your thoughts about it. And which games are you looking forward to most? Like and subscribe. We'll talk to you next time.